Yourself is a podcast produced and put on by Black Leaders Detroit, where we invite guests to come and share their real thoughts and opinions on specific subject matters. While we value their voices, their thoughts, and their opinions, their thoughts are their own and not necessarily in alignment with the views and thoughts or beliefs of Black Leaders Detroit as an organization or any of the members.
What up, dope? We are back with another episode of Speak for Yourself. I am Dewan Dandridge, the CEO of Black Leaders Detroit, here with a very special guest, Miss Lisa Angel Smith. Lisa, how you doing today?
I'm very well, Dewan. How are you?
I am well. I like to have our guests introduce themselves to our listeners, whatever way you see fit. So what would you like our listeners to know about Lisa A. Smith?
Hey, listeners. So I'm Lisa A. Smith. I am a plant-based health and business coach. I specialize in taking a whole food plant-based approach to combating chronic lifestyle disease. And so I basically slang plants for a living.
Slang plants for a living.
That's it, and that's all.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's legal to slang plants for a living.
Won't he do it?
Yeah. and your plants are medicinal.
100%.
Right, that's 100%. That's what's up. Well, I think that we initially met when we were doing one of our early rounds of grants at Black Leaders Detroit.
That's right.
And you had applied for a grant.
That's right.
And received the grant from us. And I remember just really appreciating your energy. You actually took it upon yourself to do a little promo video for us and tell people how real we are, right? I think that, one of the things that we were running into early on, and still to this day, is people hearing that there's an initiative like Black Leaders Detroit that's set up specifically for Black entrepreneurs. Sometimes people struggle to believe it being real. What were your thoughts when you first learned about us, especially during the pandemic and whatnot?
I was super excited about it. I didn't have doubt about the authenticity of your mission for one moment. And I was really honored to be selected to receive a grant, because I think part of the reason I believed in the vision so much is because mine is very similar. You know, my company is the Black Health Academy. And so we struggle with sometimes the same thing, really having to work hard to prove that we have good intentions, that we mean well, that we, are using resources honorably. And so I wanted to support a business that was doing the same. And so it was a pleasure to be both a recipient, but also an advocate for the movement. Yeah,
thank you. Appreciate that. We talked offline about the pandemic and COVID and the impact that it had. And you said something interesting. You said that your business was impacted by the pandemic.
For sure.
But you said in a positive way.
100%.
Can you share a little bit more about what you meant by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you know, at the root of the pandemic was health challenges, right? A lot of stuff came out of the pandemic from social injustice, and a lot of things were highlighted. But the work I've been doing at the Black Health Academy since 2017 is really trying to combat the disproportionate impact that lifestyle disease has on people of color. And of course, because people of color, marginalized communities were heavily impacted by the pandemic, the need for what we do at the Black Health Academy was magnified.
Right.
And so for those reasons, it was really time for us to step up and really teach individuals about their immunity, about how to eat to combat pathogens, right? You can sanitize, you can wear masks, but healing or prevention starts within. And so we really teach individuals how to eat to combat chronic health challenges or to combat something like the pandemic and coronavirus. And so during the pandemic, I was getting booked to speak virtually on all types of platforms, just really teaching the pathology of disease, the efficacy of taking a plant-based approach to combating these diseases. And so we got a lot of attention and a lot of business through the pandemic as a result, because the Black Health Academy is a for-profit business. And we took all of our programming 100% online, because I used to do monthly nutrition classes in downtown Detroit. We would just rent a space, right? So we've never had our own brick and mortar, but we would do a lot of in-person events, including our signature program, Farm to Table. But now that is all 100% online, which has really skyrocketed the brand, because now our students are worldwide. And so as a result of the pandemic, we've decided to stay virtual indefinitely, and it's worked wonders.
Nice. Farm to Table. What is that? Can you talk about that program?
Yeah, so Farm to Table is a plant-based coaching program, which is designed for individuals whose body and or minds are already compromised. So it's not a prevention program. It's a program designed to combat individuals who are battling lifestyle disease. And we define lifestyle disease as diseases and health challenges that are a result from the way in which a person lives. So we're talking about things like obesity, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, chronic stress, mild cognitive impairment. And all of those conditions, a lot of people of color are often told it just runs in your family. There's nothing you can do about it. It's in your DNA, it's in your genetics. And we're here to tell people, like, it doesn't run in your family, it's being held hostage.
Wow.
Through our
Held
habits
hostage.
and our beliefs. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, our habits, right? So it's like, it doesn't have to run in our family, in other words, right?
No, absolutely not. Like, do genetics matter 100%? But what's surprising to people is how little they matter. Typically, less than 10% of the diseases that we are combating have to do with our DNA.
Yeah.
It really has to do with the choices we're making every day, from what we eat, what we drink, how we move, who we spend time with, and whether or not we're living a life of purpose.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, we also launched the first plant-based coaching certification to be founded by a person of color. So I'm really proud to be the founder of the Plant Protocol, where we actually certify health professionals in plant-based nutrition. So
that's what's up.
That's super powerful, because Black people are the fastest growing demographic of vegans in the U.S. So we need coaches and healthcare providers to follow that trend.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, lots of questions come to mind. One of the things that I'm thinking about is, you mentioned us hearing, for our whole lives, that genetics and things run in our family and whatnot. Yeah. But then you couple that with you bringing a message that's challenges that perspective, and you also bringing that message, being a Black woman. I know what it's like being a Black man, and sometimes coming in and saying something different, provocative, innovative, and people struggling to even hear it and listen to it.
Yes.
But I also been in a room with Black women that have said something, and a man would come back and say the same thing, and people would listen.
Oh yeah.
Like, what is that experience like? Like, is that a hurdle that you have to battle and overcome when bringing a message that brings healing, but also maybe new to some of us?
I'm sure I do, but it's not the top of my list of things that I have to worry about.
Okay.
Right. So I think like sexism, racism, like, it's rampant in but is it something that I really feel like impacts our ability to move the needle in the business? And for Black people, no. I think the bigger issue is kind of what you said first, which is people just believing that they can't do anything about this because of what they've been told, like, it runs in my family. I don't think the message coming from me makes that big of a difference. It's the fact that this is what I've been told by my doctor, or for years, or maybe I've been told that by my mom, like, hey, type 2 diabetes runs in our family. And so it's very hard to unlearn that, primarily because it puts you back on the hook. You're not responsible for doing something about it, right? Like, if you accept the fact that it's not my DNA, and that my health outcomes were not predetermined, and it's actually decisions I make on a daily basis that determines my longevity and my health, it puts you 100% back on the hook. And sometimes that's hard, because when you're battling an addiction to dairy or sugar or animal products, and you're not ready to give it up, and you're being told that you don't have to be overweight, you don't have to be diabetic, you don't have to be hypertensive. It's not your DNA. It's literally the choices you're making 3 meals a day with 2 snacks in between. That's hard to accept.
Why you look at me when you say that?
I mean, that sounds like guilt. I'm not. It may have a little something to do with the conversation.
I've been looking at you this whole time.
I need you to hear this. Right. Nothing else.
Oh my goodness,
yeah.
Yes.
But it is very hard to accept that, I'm in a state of pain and suffering, or I feel like I'm being held hostage in my body, and that it's my doing. So taking that responsibility can be tough.
Yeah. So where does this passion come from? Right. I mean, that was one of the things that, came across right away when I met you back in, I think it was late 2019 or late 2020.
Yeah.
Late 2020.
Yeah.
How passionate you are and serious you are about, like, this mission.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Radical obedience. I'm just here on assignment. I'm only a vessel, right? And so my mission is to extend the healthy life expectancy of people of color on this planet. That was the assignment that was assigned to me, right? And so with my gift being speaking and teaching and coaching, my gift is just meant to be regifted. That's the only purpose of our gifts, to be regifted, right? And you've reached a level of self-actualization when your gifts and your talents are able to impact the lives of someone else. So my gift of speaking, teaching, and coaching could have been used in any realm, any sector, but I chose health because so many people of color are suffering, dying prematurely, succumbing to disability when they don't have to, unnecessarily. And for me, all I see when I see someone sick and suffering is a whole bunch of obedience being left on the table, a whole bunch of assignments. You cannot execute on your assignment on this planet and be unwell. They cannot coexist. They simply cannot coexist. And so every time I see our people perishing to something that was preventable, I see a lost opportunity. And listen, our disobedience is tied to somebody's disappointment. So we disappoint a whole bunch of people when we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah. I remember saying something to some friends not too long ago, and I had a health scare myself, and I remember after that making the decision to change some eating habits. And I think the thought that I had that I'd share with them was that of all the death-defying acts that you have as a black man growing up in Detroit, and the many challenges that threaten like your life, right? Like literally, I was like, I don't want a bold diet to be the thing to take me out.
It can't be.
Right?
It cannot be.
I mean, if I've, avoided, some of the things and, the near misses, if you will, I definitely don't want it to be me like doing myself in.
Yeah, we're not gonna fumble a ball for chicken and eggs and cheese. It just can't happen. Yeah. No.
So you just mentioned 3 things in particular that I've had in the last 5 days. So chicken, eggs, and cheese.
Let's get it. Now
right?
we start.
Let's talk about that before we get into like the sugar, which is really my Achilles heel, like confession addiction, right? Like I like to call things what they are. Yeah. Like it's definitely been made aware to me just by being self-aware and just paying attention that I have a sugar addiction and it's got me. You know what I mean? So what say you, Coach?
About the sugar?
Let's hit the chicken, eggs, and
okay.
What were the 3?
And cheese.
Oh yeah, I had all 3 of those in the last. I said 5 days, the last 3 days.
Yeah. You gotta get rid of it. That mucus would come out of your throat.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes, what we call it in my company is MED. So that's meat, eggs, dairy, and seafood. Right? Okay. And they are highly disease promoting, highly inflammatory. And so they create excess mucus in the body. Mucus is the number 1 carrier of disease in the body. And so all of the animal products creates excess mucus in the body. They also house a number of growth hormones that are disease promoting. And what most people believe is that it's what's added to the meat and dairy that makes it unhealthy. Like if I buy clean, if I buy organic, if I buy farm raised, then it's okay, right? And that's untrue, right? So you only get cholesterol from animal products.
So I'm just paying extra money for all that organic and farm raised stuff.
And to clog
and
arteries.
Getting the same thing.
100%. The number 1 cause of death in the U.S. is heart disease. Over 700,000 people die every year from heart disease. Even after COVID, heart disease is still the number 1 cause of death. Heart disease is nothing but clogged arteries. Your grandma didn't give you clogged arteries. You didn't pass down clogged. You ate every day plaque and animal products and sugar and alcohol and no exercise. That's what clogs are. Stress. You're stressed out. You're living a life that you're not fulfilled. That's what clogs your arteries. And so 700,000 people are dying every year from something that can literally be changed with daily habits. And so animal products are one of the leading causes of some of the top causes of death in the U.S., including heart disease, different types of cancer, type 2 diabetes. People think type 2 diabetes is a sugar issue. It's a saturated fat issue. And so when we get all the saturated
What's the difference?
Well, most people try to control their blood sugar by controlling carbs. So if someone has type 2 diabetes, they're like, I can't have a lot of rice, bread, pasta, and potatoes. But the reason the sugar is staying in the blood and not moving into the muscle and liver cells like it should is because saturated fat is in the way. So I want you to think of like a car accident. What people are doing is they're trying to stop the cars from piling up on the freeway. That's the sugar. But the reason the cars are piling up is because of the accident. That's the saturated fat. And so we're controlling the wrong part of the mechanism. And so with type 2 diabetes, when we remove saturated fat out of the diet, then the sugar that's in the blood can start flowing again. That's the traffic.
Okay. So
right?
so if we get rid of the saturated fat,
Yes.
then we can have some of those things that you mentioned when you say potatoes, rice, and bread.
There's nothing wrong with starch. Absolutely. We demonize starch.
So what's the saturated fat? Where are we getting all this saturated fat from?
Most saturated fat comes from animal products. There are some plant-based products, though, that contain high amounts of saturated fat that you shouldn't consume either, like coconut oil, for example, palm oil, which is housed in a lot of our peanut butters. And so, but the primary source of saturated fat, the number one source of saturated fat in the standard American diet is actually cheese.
Okay.
Okay. But all meat, including seafood, aids in that saturated fat, aids in that high levels of cholesterol.
So when I'm eating grilled salmon, thinking that I'm doing something, man, do you have any good news?
Wait, I thought I was bringing all the good news.
Goodness gracious.
I told people it's not their DNA. There's something you can do about it. Good news. I'm telling you that if you've been battling type 2 diabetes for years and had 3 healthcare providers that showed you it just is what it is, all you got to do is remove that.
We don't want to take all the responsibility. We need some of it to be like outside of our decision making.
And therein lies the problem.
I want to point the finger at something else. I don't want all the fingers to be pointed at me.
Well, let's point the finger at sugar. You ready?
Yeah, but I'm the one grabbing the sugar. You know what I mean?
I know. But I'm going to bring some more good news.
All right, come on with it.
What have you tried to stop eating sugar?
What have I tried to stop eating sugar?
Yeah, or have you ever tried?
I would say it's the equivalent to the, you know what, I'm going to start doing what I'm supposed to do on Monday. That's what me trying to stop eating sugar is like. and so my wife was talking about me the other day. Mm-hmm. She had made a rice pudding, and I didn't know it was in the oven. Mm-hmm. But I went to her, and this was yesterday. I said, hey, babe, can you make a banana pudding? She likes to bake on the weekends. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, without telling her, this banana pudding is going to be like the last thing I eat before I start this new trend of avoiding sugar in February, right? Yeah. But I'm going to have one last hurrah.
Absolutely.
And she said, look, I don't know what to do. Like, you tell me you're not eating sugar. If I bake something, you tell me you're not eating sugar, then you come to me and be like, hey, and then you ate 8 cookies the other day. You know what I mean?
Addict.
So, right. Oh, for sure. Right? So that's what Dewan quitting sugar looked like.
Yeah, and that's how it looks for most people, right? So I'm going to tell you how to get over a sugar addiction.
Okay.
How to get over any
We got this on wax.
addiction.
All right.
It's very simple.
Jesus. Yes. You about to say Jesus? Because
Right.
That's how most people I know get over addiction.
You hear me?
Hey.
But besides God, one thing that we absolutely have to destroy in our culture when it comes to eating is that everything in moderation is okay. What you've tried to do is moderate your addiction. You cannot moderate an addiction. The only way to get over an addiction is abstinence. So what we try and do is say, I'll do it on the weekends, or I'll reward myself if I've done good for so long. We justify that a little bit. It's not that bad. We think we can out-exercise it. We think we can drink. Let me just flush with a whole bunch of water. The only way to get over an addiction is abstinence. Now, abstinence is the toughest part because it's going to take you through what you need to go through to get over an addiction, which is detox and withdrawals. 100%. So do the work that you're avoiding. Yes, you're going to have cravings. Yes, you'll probably have headaches. Yes, you'll likely have mood swings. It's not going to be easy. But that's the way I got over my sugar addiction. I'm plant-based vegan. However, I didn't give up sugar until years into being a vegan. Why? Sugar is vegan. Sugar is vegan. They have vegan cookies, vegan cakes. Like, you can still eat sugar and be vegan, but I don't. And I'll tell you what did it for me. I was already at healthy weight. I've been lean. I lost 65 pounds, was still lean. So for me, the weight wasn't motivating. I never had a pre-existing condition, so that wasn't motivating. But as you see, for a living, I sell one thing and one thing only, Dewan. I sell my intelligence. I don't have a product to sell. I don't have a shirt. I don't have a book. The only thing I sell is my intelligence. Every program we have at the Black Health Academy came out of my mind. Every speaking engagements I do comes out of my mind. Every article I write online comes out of my mind. Sugar impairs your memory, your ability to concentrate, and your recall. Yeah. So for me, my most valuable asset is my intellect. And once I understood how sugar impacted me neurologically, I couldn't afford it anymore. Because if you sat here and asked me any question and I couldn't access the information for the people listening whose life I could potentially save with one sentence because I decided to have a candy bar, a piece of chocolate, or a soda, I'm now being disobedient. Yeah. And so for me, it wasn't even my physical health. It was literally my intellect.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think the motivating factor for me is that, like, I don't like bondage and slavery and being a slave to anything. And it's really got a hold on me.
Nothing should have more control over you than you have over it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching, pressure's off of you. I'm making it all about Dewan. So, like, maybe you don't have any problems with it. You know what I mean? But I do. And so I will turn 50 in November this year.
Yes.
And my goal is to be in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
So, and I mean that, like, in every sense of the word, from spiritually, physically, mentally, and relationship-wise.
For sure.
But it's standing in the way, and it's got to get out the way.
I know for a fact it is. I have no doubt. Like, when you go all February without sugar, like you're going to do, and then when you call me on the 28th, like you're going to tell me how successful you were, I can.
Black History Month. You're gonna be like Black History Month.
Absolutely.
The one that kicked the sugar.
I cannot wait for you to tell me how your brain works now, how your thinking works now, how your decision making operates now, how your executive function. You're gonna be a new person. Yeah. I promise you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Can I call you? Like, can you be like my sponsor in case I'm like when I'm going through withdrawals and I'm like,
more than happy.
Oh, Lisa, I'm about to run up to. I ain't even gonna say the name of the spots I'll be hitting. I know where they are. I know where every spot is. That's got the good stuff.
All the addicts know the suppliers.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
I'm keeping some doors open in some spots.
And I'm not hating on the spots that's selling but I'm telling you guys, it is really impairing our cognitive. Like, somebody who like has dementia that runs in their family or Alzheimer's, like, you don't know what it means to get sugar out of your diet. You can literally prevent a diagnosis like Alzheimer's by removing refined processed sugar out of your diet. It is powerful. It's gonna liberate you. Yeah. Okay.
All right. We're gonna try a couple segments that we want to introduce here at Speak for Yourself. So one is called You Know Nothing, Jon Snow. I don't know if you're familiar with the phenomenon that was Game of Thrones, but there was a portion where Jon Snow, one of the main characters, who was heroic in many ways, but in many ways he had a lot of learning to do. So as it relates to the work that you do, I think about conversations we have. I think about, friends and family members that instead of doing the right thing with their diet and exercise, they look for supplements and internet experts that they don't know if they've done their own research, as opposed to listening to a trained professional that they know gets paid to educate, enlighten, a doctor maybe. They go and look for information there and think that they can supplement their way back to shape. So that'll be our You Know Nothing Jon Snow. So if you were talking to me and that was the case, what would you say to me? And I mean, it's candid and it's straightforward, which I know you do it that way anyway, but you typically have some seasoning on it. So you can come straight, no chaser.
Yeah. Okay. So
You Know Nothing Jon Snow.
A supplement is supposed to do just that. So make sure you understand that a supplement is meant to supplement your diet. It should not be the source. So before you consider a supplement, the first thing you need to know is whether or not you have a deficiency.
Okay.
So we shouldn't be supplementing, whether that be a protein powder or a multivitamin, whatever, even sea moss. We don't need to supplement until we have verified that we're deficient in something. So a lot of these things, especially man-made supplements, we're spending money on them and all of this, but what really happens is we just have expensive urine. Our body is not even absorbing a lot of it because there's either not a need there, it's excess, it's too much. And so supplements should be only used when a true nutritional deficiency has been identified through blood work.
Gotcha. That's good. That's good. That is really helpful. All right, so we'll go into another segment.
Okay.
We'll call this Angry Black Woman. And it comes from, the thing that,
Tyler Perry?
we hear. No. no, not that angry.
There are levels.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thought behind like angry black man or angry black woman is oftentimes when we are upset about something publicly, we're controlled by these type of terms and shamed for being angry. And my thought is that, there's nothing wrong with being angry if there's something to be angry about, right? Just a matter of how you respond and how you deal with that thing that has you upset. So what is it that makes Lisa Angel Smith angry?
Oh, regarding health.
You can go wherever you want to go. You can go wherever you want to go with it.
One, irresponsible healthcare providers telling people that they have to be on medications for the rest of their life just because their mom or their grandma or their cousins had something. That it's also going to be their fate. So, you're taking people's hope away because you're telling them this was handed to you through your DNA, and that's not true. So that pisses me off because people are now disempowered. And as a result, we continue to see the trends in Western medicine for people of color. The other thing that pisses me off is how historically Black people have been used in this country for the advancement of medicine against our will, right? When you think of stuff like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment or Henrietta Lacks or John Marion Sims, who used slaves in his backyard without anesthesia to just study surgery. And as a result of those historical events, we still are getting the short end of the stick in Western medicine, right? Like unkept, unprepared, unqualified healthcare providers. I mean, I've had multiple experiences myself in the city of Detroit with doctors who were shocked that I wasn't overweight and made it plain and clear. I mean, it's just the inequities in Western medicine for Black people pisses me off. Yeah. And I hate how hard I have to work sometimes to prove to a lot of our students or community that I know what I'm talking about. I hate how much our society puts weight on credentials when what I'm teaching wasn't taught in medical school. I know that I'm not a doctor, but doctors come to me to learn nutrition. I have doctors in my plant-based nutrition certification because they didn't learn it in medical school. So I hate how we discount people who don't have titles when there's absolutely no proof behind the title that they know what they're doing. And so I wish we would do a better job of our due diligence, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, and just researching people and just making sure that you don't just take what somebody says just because they have a title. I went to Wayne State, did pre-med 2 years off of that insecurity. It took me 2 years going through organic chemistry and all this to say, Lisa, you don't need to become an MD. You know what you need to know to save your people. And so I went out and did it. So that pisses me off, is how hard we sometimes have to work to prove we're credible, so that we can save and help people. Wow,
that's heavy. That's heavy. Yeah. Well, we're going to run to a break real quick.
So you get me all riled up.
And we get back. we'll carry on with our next topic.
Okay.
We want to shout out one of the Black businesses in the city, Detroit Sip. One of my favorite coffee shops. Detroit Sip is community's coffee. Detroit Sip is the community's coffee shop. It is located on 6 Mile between Livernois and Wyoming. Inside, you'll find free Wi-Fi, sweet and savory treats, and drinks that celebrate the city of Detroit. Let us be your home away from home. Let us be your home away from home or workspace. Printing options are also now available. We are open every week, Thursday through Sunday, Follow Detroit Sip on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We are much more than a cup of coffee and have the best customer service around. Come chill with us. Inspiration is just a sip away. We look forward to serving you again and again. Detroit Sip, 7420 West McNichols, aka 6 Mile, Detroit. So we're back with Lisa Angel Smith talking about health and her passion, commission, and just life mission to help save her people. Is that an accurate?
Spot on.
Okay, sweet. I think one of the things, so we were talking about some of the questions that came from our audience was, what if I live this healthy life and I get hit by a bus, you know what I mean? And end up dying. I'll be in heaven mad because I could have just enjoyed that chicken.
Yeah.
So what was your response to that?
I love a good nihilistic, attitude. We're gonna all die anyway. So what does it matter? And it goes back to what I said earlier. I'm not teaching this and coaching to this just so you can stay alive. It's so that you can execute on your assignment at a high level. So you could get hit by a bus tomorrow, but the question becomes, were you optimal before you got hit? And can someone say you impacted their life in a positive way as a result of you living radically obedient? And so it doesn't matter whether or not you unfortunately die at a young age or you live well into your older years and become a centenarian. The mission is not to just stay alive. The mission is to be the best version of yourself. And you can't be on assignment. You cannot live a life of radical obedience if you are overweight, if you are constantly medicated, if you are chronically fatigued. How many people are just tired all the time?
Yeah.
And so the point is to be obedient to your assignment so that you don't disappoint the rest of us.
So one of the things that I'd love to speak to is the person that's out there hearing what you're saying and feeling attacked, right? Because I think that we've done some things with language and terms where even if somebody is coming from a position where they desire to educate and help, some things are like deemed off limits to actually say, even something as simple as overweight. So to our listeners that are out there maybe hearing this and maybe it hit them a certain way, because you also have a segment of society that's saying, like, it's okay if you are, you know what I mean? Like this really dope sister that's got a plus size store that's like, when you walk in the door, she like, you got to be two something to do something. Like, when I hear that, it just get me geeked. Like, you know what I'm saying? I almost want to, you know what I'm saying? But so what say you? I think to bring balance, because I don't think that you're coming with a message of condemnation.
No
You're
malice.
saying, hey, like I understand something,
Nothing but
and
science.
I want to share it.
It's nothing but science. So listen. Let's address it, because over 70% of the Black community is overweight or obese. Okay. First of all, being overweight is a pre-existing condition. We have to stop saying I'm can I say the F word? F-A-T.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is called speak for yourself.
Okay.
You know what
So
I mean?
we
Like,
have
I'm not
to-
going to police what you say.
Okay.
You don't police what I say.
Cool.
Like, okay.
All right. So we have to stop saying things like, I'm fat, but I'm healthy. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't even make sense. So the body positive movement, I am a fan of, and I do believe in inclusivity and representation. Absolutely, all mannequins or all models shouldn't be. But what I'm talking about, though, is the life expectancy that's taken off of your potential when you're overweight. Most people don't even know that your intelligence is compromised when you're overweight. Your brain actually shrinks from being overweight. We have so many Black women who suffer from things like fibroids, which is a hormone-dominant condition. When you are overweight, you produce more estrogen naturally, but you're battling a hormone-dominant condition. We have men who are battling prostate cancer. We have to stop thinking that it is possible to be healthy and fat. Your heart is not meant to combat all of that excess fat, that visceral fat. Your kidneys, fatty liver disease used to be primarily regulated to people who had alcohol problems. Now, the majority of fatty liver disease cases in the U.S. are a result of being overweight. I'm just arguing the science. I'm not saying you don't deserve a plus size store.
Right.
Go there as you work to get that weight off. Absolutely. You deserve to wear something now, but I want you to be working every day to get back down to a healthy weight. It does not, obesity does not run in your family. I get that everyone in your family is big, but grandma's macaroni and cheese recipe also happens to run in the family. So no, disease runs in your family because nobody runs in your family.
Damn. You said that. I didn't say that.
Oh,
You said that. You said
you
that.
leave me out there like that? Okay, that's what we doing? Okay, well, I'm going to get some security escort me to my car.
No, I can get you to the car. This is after that. It's just after that. But I think, in all seriousness, right, it's like you're a practitioner. You talked about your own weight loss journey.
I used to be fat, 100%.
Yep. So can you talk a little bit about that? And then if you have a student, a story that like you are proud of, not for the sake of your own ego, but for the sake of somebody going from an unhealthy situation or unhealthy version of themselves to a healthy version of themselves. Yeah. And you don't have to give a name for the person, but.
Sure. So I used to be 65 pounds overweight, DeJuan, and I started my weight loss journey back in 2012. I hired my first personal trainer. Tiffany only worked with me on the fitness part. We didn't do nutrition. I was not a vegan yet. And she helped me lose my first 30 pounds until I moved overseas, and I continued to work out and change the way I was eating, although I was still eating animal products. So I eventually lost a total of about 65 pounds, and it was transitioning to a whole food plant-based diet that helped me keep the weight off. So I lost my weight still eating animal products, but I've kept it off for all of these years as a result of a whole food plant-based regimen. And now, when I started my first health and wellness company back in 2015, it was an online personal training company. So I started as a personal trainer, started studying nutrition because you can't be a fitness trainer and not know nutrition, and discovered this plant-based diet that was supposed to be so optimal for longevity. Because I'm like, you can lose weight and still be shortening your life. Like, there's unhealthy ways to lose weight. So I wanted a protocol that helped people to lose weight and increase life expectancy. And so that was a plant-based diet because it's the only diet that's been proven to combat the number one cause of death, which is heart disease, because we're taking all of that saturated fat and cholesterol out of the diet. And so I started studying nutrition, fell in love, retired from being a personal trainer, and now all I do is slang plants full time. This is all I do all day full time. Talk nutrition, teach nutrition, coach to mindset. And I've had hundreds of students go through my programs and now our plant-based coaching certification. And I think some of the testimonials that I'm the most proud of are typically around weight loss and type 2 diabetes. So my former assistant, she won't mind me saying her name was Kelly. We were able to literally put her type 2 diabetes in remission. She's no longer on metformin. She now has an A1C that's down around 5.7, 5.6 as a result of adopting a plant-based protocol.
What does that mean? Can you break that down in layman's terms?
Yeah, absolutely. So A1C is a 3-month measure average of your blood sugar, and it's the test that diabetics take on a regular basis. And a A1C above 5.7 really puts you in a pre-diabetic or diabetic range depending on how high it is. And so you really want that A1C to be around 5.6 or lower. Okay. And so we were able to do that for several students, honestly. So we've gotten people off of medications. We've reduced medications. Weight loss is very common. So our signature program, Farm to Table, is a 10-week program. So in that 10 weeks, our students lose an average of roughly maybe 10 to 15 pounds just in that short time, right? By adopting a plant-based protocol. Blood pressure comes down, cholesterol comes down, blood sugar comes down. But then what's really amazing is how people begin to feel just from a mental and cognitive standpoint. Most of us are suffering in our lives because of situations that we can't seem to get ourselves out of because cognitively we're fogged. We have brain fog. Yeah. So we can't make wise decisions. We're chronically stressed. Chronic stress will kill you. Acute stress is extremely healthy. Chronic stress is deadly. And we're in jobs that we hate. We're in relationships that we can't stand and that aren't mutually beneficial. Then we don't feel like we have purpose or fulfillment in our lives. But the only way to make great decisions to help pull ourselves out of that situation is we need a clear mind. So if you stop drinking the soda, start drinking water. If you stop eating the cheese and start eating plants, it really not just helps you from the neck down, but from the neck up. And that's what we want. Like we're brilliant. It's just not on display.
Heavy. That's heavy.
Heavy.
It's heavy. So what's a daily, I guess, menu for you look like?
Well, I'm super basic. So a lot of people believe living this lifestyle requires all this heavy lifting, like crock pots and meal planning and batch cooking. I don't do any of it. I'm too busy. So I don't meal plan. I don't batch cook. I don't own a crock pot. All I have is a blender and a stove. So that's the first thing I want to say is, like, don't think this is going to require you to become a chef or that every meal has to require a recipe. So for me, typically, the first thing I eat of the day is typically whatever I made for dinner the night before. So the first thing I ate today, for example, was a bowl of chili, because there's no such thing as a breakfast food, by the way. Breakfast food is a made up concept. Like, there's no such thing as a breakfast food. So I had chili.
Hitting me with too many things in one session.
This is the only shot I had. You didn't say it was a series or nothing, and I got to get it out.
Okay. Man.
But yeah, so I had chili today with some saltine crackers, and then my next meal was I had some leftover quinoa meat tacos. So it's taco meat made out of quinoa. Okay. And so I had that. And later tonight, I'm having leftover pasta, which is a ravioli.
Okay.
So I don't want you to think I'm eating like rabbit food.
Okay.
Like, I'm eating good. I eat starch. I eat bread. I eat rice. I eat pasta, all of that stuff. And but I am a whole food plant-based vegan. I'm not a comfort food vegan. So it's important to note that I don't buy all the processed, frozen, packaged vegan junk food that's going to be full of all of that SOS, salt, oil, and sugar. So I am a true whole food plant-based vegan where I eat plants every damn day. Yeah.
See, they used to say don't get high off your own supply, but you say you slaying plants and you eat them every day.
I'm not only the founder.
President.
Absolutely. I definitely get high on my own supply. It's just also integrity too. I wouldn't ask my students to do anything I don't do.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Well, I mean, this is definitely a timely message for me.
Yeah.
As I have some changes that I would like to make, and let's say I'd like to make, that I'm going to make.
Yes.
For sure. And I'll keep you updated.
Yeah.
On my progress and how things are going.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners that we didn't cover?
Yeah. I just want to remind people of two things. Number one, the absence of disease is not the presence of health. So if you're listening to this and you feel like, well, I really don't have to do anything, I don't have a diagnosis. A lot of people think that if I don't have a diagnosis or I'm not on medication, that makes me healthy. And that's not true. Right? So health is an intentional practice. It's an intentional practice of health promoting behaviors every day. So not having a diagnosis doesn't make you healthy. It has to be intent behind it. And the other thing I want to remind people of when it comes to just living your life's purpose is that your disobedience is always going to be tied to somebody's disappointment. So please do not believe that being overweight or having a diagnosis is a victimless crime. It is not. Your excess weight or your elevated blood pressure, your elevated cholesterol, autoimmune, like you are not the only person who's being impacted by that. And so being unhealthy is not a victimless crime, and we have to do what we can to make sure that we serve other people as our best selves every day.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you so much for speaking for yourself, but speaking to us and being willing to share some hard, necessary truths, if for nobody else, for me. Yes. So I'll receive the message that you're bringing today, and like I said, make some changes.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. We're attracted to what we need, so
no doubt.
All in good time.
No doubt. Yes. Thank you so much. Well, that is it from us here at BLD. You've heard from Lisa Angel Smith, and I hope that something that she said maybe nudged you in a direction that will make you want to take a look at some changes that you might be able to make. And it's all in love, not condemnation. So with that, I'll see you next time on Speak for Yourself.